When Silent Hill 2 Remake came out last year, I don't own a PS5, so I pretty much picked it up for my aging old gaming PC. And while it was optimized pretty well and played for the most part pretty well, I still had to make a lot of concessions in terms of resolution, in terms of some of just the general textures and shadows of that game, and in a lot of ways I felt like I got a pared down experience of what Bloober was trying to accomplish. So I was hoping to see the Silent Hill 2 Remake come out for the Xbox, and that release finally happened earlier this month. And pretty much the day it came out, I picked it up immediately. And one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of people ask about or look at regarding the game is, did this 1 year delay of this release benefit it coming out on the Xbox in terms of optimization, in terms of visuals versus the PC or PS5? And in this video, I'm going to go over how it runs on the Xbox Series X and the different quality modes that you have available and the pros and cons of those. So let's take a look. So to start, I just want to highlight, I'm not Digital Foundry. I don't have advanced testing protocols to tell you what resolution this is shifting between or what frame rates are dipping or diving, but I have played this game pretty extensively. I've also taken some quick comparison videos, which most likely will become heavily compressed once I upload this to YouTube, but to give you a good gauge of what's going on with this game. Now, when I played this back on my cheap low-end gaming PC, one of the biggest things, or two of the biggest issues that I faced with playing the Silent Hill 2 Remake were stutter and crashes. Now, one of the things that happened was the stutter would only tend to happen when you transition between rooms or transition from a smaller area to a larger area. And it only happened for like a fraction of a second, but it was noticeable. And this appears to be a quirk of the Unreal 5 engine that I've seen on many different Unreal 5 based games. Now, I had heard, and I just want to emphasize, I haven't played it on the PS5. I've heard this was a similar issue also happening on the PS5. But again, I'm not going to attest to that or say that that was occurring because I didn't really play the PS5 version, so I'm not going off of that. But on the Xbox Series X version, so far I've experienced no stutter. The only time I've ever really seen it happen a little bit is when the autosave occurs, but that to me is par for the course with that sort of thing happening. Otherwise, I've not experienced that stutter at all. I've played in both the quality mode as well as the performance mode, and for the most part, even in more intensive or graphically intensive areas, I don't see any excessive dips in the frame rate. It feels very smooth. It feels like it's locked in either at 30 FPS in the quality mode or 60 FPS in the performance mode. Now, I do want to highlight one quirk, however. If you change between the quality mode to performance mode mid-game, this stutter does appear to occur. So what I mean is, if you start playing the game and go to the menu halfway through your playtime and switch from quality to performance or vice versa, the game seems to now start having issues with the optimization, and the simplest fix is to essentially reset it after choosing the mode that you want to use. And I found that I was in good shape at that point. The game ran stable both ways. But if you do this mid-game, you will start to experience some of these issues that I talked about previously that I experienced on the PC version. So just a little caveat for that way to play, I guess, or to avoid that, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, as far as crashes, I did not experience any crashes. I played through the game. I played through the game pretty excessively recently. I've experienced zero crashes. I've had no issues with the game stability. It hasn't just crashed out on me. I'm not sure if that was something that happened on the PlayStation. I didn't really go too deep into it. I don't know. But I know that I've played other Unreal 5 games on other devices, and crashing has been a thing, as well as on my low-end gaming PC. I've experienced none of that. Now, going into the two different presets, kind of a bit more deeply, I've been personally playing this all on the quality preset. So the quality preset basically locks you in at 30 FPS, and my understanding is it's upscaling from 1080p to 4K. And so far, the visual acuity to me looks incredibly good. It may have a dynamic resolution scaler in there. So far, though, I haven't noticed it. I know on other games that I've played, that's a thing. Like, for example, Alan Wake 2, I can definitely tell that the dynamic resolution scaler on quality is working. I haven't noticed it here, so if it is there, it's barely noticeable. Now, there is also the performance mode, which appears to be upscaling from a bit of a lower resolution, and it looks like it's trying to upscale to 4K resolution, but this is where I noticed a lot more concessions. Now, for some people who are 60 frames per second diehards, I played in the performance mode for about a good 45 minutes, and I noticed that it looked like it was locked in at that 60 FPS without any noticeable dips at all. So I thought that was pretty well optimized as far as the optimization goes. As far as the resolution goes, you definitely don't have the same sharpness as the quality mode. It also seems like some of the shadows are a bit dulled out. This seems probably more in parity with how I was running it on my cheap gaming PC, minus the fact that I wasn't running at the locked in 60 FPS. I was running at a way lower frames per second, but you do definitely see some visual changes occurring in terms of the quality or the sharpness versus the quality mode, but ultimately it wasn't really that massive of a difference like I was expecting. They both looked really good. Me personally, though, I prefer the quality visuals or the sharper visuals over the frames per second that you get with performance mode. So I personally choose to stick to the quality mode. Now, one thing you'll notice between both modes, however, and this seems to be an issue across all consoles, but this is probably due to the upscaling technology they're using for these types of games, is there is definitely a lot of shadowing that happens. You'll see a lot of, like, when James moves his hand in a darker area, you can kind of see the ghosting, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, of his hand moving that gets trapped on the screen. It's not a major issue, but it does mitigate some of the sharpness that you'd expect when there's a lot of moving things on screen at once. But ultimately, I just want to emphasize that Bloober Team has done a phenomenal job optimizing this game, and for the year that they've had to do it for the Xbox, it appears that they've done a great job. Now, my understanding is Bloober's also has a lot of intimate knowledge of the Xbox hardware, so it's not a surprise that they've optimized this as well as they have. But so far, if you haven't played the Silent Hill 2 remake and you've been holding out and wondering if it's worth playing for your Xbox Series X console, my opinion is this looks really good. Now again, I don't have the PlayStation consoles to actually compare it to. I've read things about it, but I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole because I haven't properly tested it on those. But the Series X does appear to hold its own in terms of visual acuity and stability, which are two things that, for a lot of people, when it comes to playing a deep story-based survival horror game like this, you're going to want in this type of game. So if you haven't played it yet, I heavily recommend picking it up. I still believe it's 50% off. And so far, I'm really enjoying how good it looks, how well it plays, and just how solid of a remake this game is.